Hi everybody, this is Brian David Marshall coming to you from Magic Weekend in Paris. I'm here with Patrick Chapin. We are 10 rounds into Pro Tour Paris. Patrick is 9-1, and a big part of that has been your limited performance this weekend.
Surprisingly, yeah. Yeah, I had the benefit of drafting with a bunch of the Frenchies, like Wafo Tapa, Matignon, Lucas, Florent, and then also Michael Jacob, and they kind of, like at first I was terrible, but fortunately 12 or 13 practice drafts with them, and
right. I mean, from what I heard talking to Guillaume, you guys got a lot more drafts in than a lot of other playtest groups.
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to get we were trying to do 1 or 2 every day, and I came straight from the pre-release. So pretty much ever since the pre-release, I've been trying to do a couple a day.
Okay. So and you feel like you have a real grasp on the format, and maybe some cards that I know watching you draft, there were some decisions in there that I have not done nearly as many drafts in this format that were not as obvious to me. So we're gonna walk through your first 8 picks in Mirrodin Besieged. Sure. We'll talk a little bit about scars after that, but what we have right here is the actual first pack that you faced. So if you could just walk us through this a little bit and tell us about what happened. I mean, I saw you open this pack and there's a Phyrexian Vat Mother. That seems like a pretty obvious first pick to me there.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a first pick bomb card, but I don't really particularly like black or green in this format. I mean, I like them, I just don't win with them very much.
Okay.
And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it wrong, and so I guess I definitely need to learn how to draft those eventually, but for this event, I had pretty much decided I was going to be playing either red, white, or blue, like 2 of those 3 colors, just
right.
Because I just, I guess maybe that's just the only decks I know how to draft. And with Phyrexian Vat Mother, it's unbelievably powerful, but I was able to rationalize not picking it because both Go for the Throat and Spread the Sickness ensured that people next to me would be playing black, and Blight Widow ensured there was just going to be a ton of poison to the left of me. And I thought that if I picked the Relic Warder, I mean, white I think is often very underdrafted in this format anyway, and I had hoped that, and I think it's an exceptional card. I think it's like the best white card in the set. I think that that I could, I guess, basically stake a claim for white, and then with both red and blue weak here, hopefully the people to my left would not be playing either red or blue,
Okay. So you open up this pack, you take Relic Warder, which I think a lot of people at home are going to be surprised by.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you're like, oh, well, even if you don't want to be poisoned, then you take the Go for the Throat, but you really want to send a strong signal?
Yeah, I really don't want to be black. I don't want to be green or black. I think they're fantastic, but I just know that I personally don't do as well. And I want to send a strong signal to the people to my left that black is open and green is open. I want them, like when you pass this pack, the people to your left know you're not playing Infect, and it's safe for them to, if they were on the fence or whatever. Because I'm a big fan of friendly drafting. Like, I think it's so much better to not hate draft and things like that, because if you send good cards to the people next to you, at least early in the draft, then it commits them to those colors a lot more, so that later on, if they're deciding between 2, they're less likely to switch into your color,
right. So we've looked at pack 1. We don't have all your packs instructed. We're going to have to go to the big screen here. So pack 2, you get past this pack. What are you thinking here in terms of what the person passing to you is saying?
All right, well, with this one, first of all, there are very few cards that people generally pick over the Corrupted Consciousness. So they definitely got a bomb. But the fact that there's Corrupted Consciousness and Vidalcan Animus, which are the 2 best cards in the pack, other than maybe Blight Widow, but clearly the person didn't want to fight for blue.
Sure.
And I don't mind fighting for blue that much, especially and then with Blight Widow, I'm kind of imagining that the person to the left of me took a poison card anyway, so they'll move into black-green poison. And for me, the Corrupted Consciousness was the easy pick. I mean, Burn the Impure is also very, very good.
Right.
But all that tells me is that the first pick card, I mean, it could have been black or white, but the fact that it's a rare,
it could be anything.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, let's move on. Let's take a look at pick 3. This was a pick that I was a little surprised by. It seemed like you were looking at the Blister Stick Shaman there when I was watching you.
Yeah, I like Blister Stick Shaman a lot more than a lot of people do, but the reason I ended up going with the Gargoyle is just because I wanted to kind of keep my color options open.
Okay.
I think that the Gargoyle is, I mean, it's a big flyer, and that's great and all, but artifact creatures are surprisingly easy to kill in this format. 4 toughness isn't the biggest amount, and I find that it's easy to get tons of 5, 6, and 7 mana cards, and the good ones aren't often that, like this one's a solid one, but it's not actually that much better than the mediocre ones, whereas getting good cheap cards is a more valuable commodity. but I still went the Gargoyle just to keep my colors open.
Okay, so let's look at pick 4. This was another pack. This was a pick that you were a little confused by. This is not a mistake when you're looking at the draft viewer at home. There were actually 2 of the same common in this pack.
Right, yeah, and so obviously this tells me that none of the people to my right are blue, which is fantastic, because even though the person to the left of me, or like a couple spots down that got that Vidalcan Animist, is also going to get the Quicksilver Geyser, it's pretty much going to cement us in as just the only 2 blue people for like a 5-person stretch,
right.
You know?
And I thought this is something just like operationally to talk about also. It's like you get this pack and there's 2 commons in there. You want to call a judge.
Yeah, the first thing I did was call a judge just to make sure that this is fine. You know, presumably this pack was opened and a foil was replaced by a random common, and it just happened to randomly be a common that was already in the pack.
Right.
But that can happen. This is the equivalent of opening a foil at
right.
a, you know.
Yeah, but if at any time that happens where you're in a tournament and you're playing and something just doesn't seem right, always put your hand
Call
up.
a judge, absolutely. And then in this pack, the other card that was actually of interest to me, I like Mirrodin quite a bit in a lot of the decks I draft because it's a perfect card to sacrifice to, you know, things to sacrifice artifacts or creatures. You know, giving you, it helps with your Metalcraft, it can be an early blocker, and you can sacrifice it twice, you know?
Right.
But still went the Geyser, just love the tempo play.
All right, so pick 5 here. There's a Serum Raker, 3/2 flyer, solid, muscly kind of guy.
I love that guy.
There's a Leonin Sky Hunter.
Love that guy.
You put both of these guys towards the front of the pack early. You were looking at both of them, and then it was just like like the prettiest girl in the world walked into the bar.
Right. I mean, like Serum Raker and Leonin Skyhunter are great, efficient flyers, but I pick Ichor Wellspring over good removal. Like I pick Ichor Wellspring over everything. As soon as I saw Ichor Wellspring, my heart was already. I mean, like, see, Ichor Wellspring's a card that right now an awful lot of people think should go like maybe 6th or 7th or 8th in the draft. You know, like in the first draft yesterday at table 1, I lapped 2 of them. And to me, it's a first pick card. I pick Ichor Wellspring over almost everything except like Control Magic or the 4/6 Sphinx or a Dragon, you know, over almost anything.
Now, true or false? You've picked it over Burn the Impure.
Picked it over Burn the Impure.
True or false? You've picked it over Go for the Throat.
Picked it over Go for the Throat. Yeah, picked it over. I mean, but once you're picking it over Burn the Impure and Go for the Throat, picking it over a 3/2 flyer is easy. Now, I think in the future people are going to pick this card much higher.
Right.
They'll probably still pick Go for the Throat higher. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I think this card just does such a unique thing.
So increases the velocity of your deck.
Yeah, you dig to your good cards quicker, and it's not even just that it's a draw 2. It's so easy to recurse and end up drawing 3, 4, 5 extra cards with it because you're using cards like Glint Hawk or Glimmerpoint Stag or things that get your artifacts back after you sacrifice them. And often you can sacrifice it for gain anyway, like regenerating your 4/1. You know?
Sure. Okay, so let's move on to pick 6 here. And you know, what's going on? What are you thinking about? Like,
so
these cards.
Yeah. So these cards have. There's a lot of interesting cards here for me. I mean, Vivisection ends up okay in some of the decks I play just because I have good guys to sacrifice.
Looking at the Mirrodin again there as an example, right? Or an Oculus. Or
right. Exactly. And then the Rhino is often a very solid guy for my deck. Like I don't value him as highly because it's easy to get the 6-drops, but I often like the deck the way it's shaping up so far. I'm thinking I could be Metalcraft. You know.
Right.
And Spire Serpent, another efficient blocker.
Sure.
Love him on defense, and then eventually he can end up becoming an attacker. But I had to go, and obviously some of the red cards, like the 4/3 is good. But in this case, I wanted to just stick with the current plan, because already I only have 1 white card, so it was possible that I'd open a bomb in one of the other 2 packs and want to switch, you know, just stay blue. But the 4/1 slasher is very important for the decks that I draft, especially if I don't think I'm going to be red, because I need to have ways to sacrifice artifacts.
Right. And this is a perfect example of a card that has great synergy with the Ichor Wellspring, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that it's not even just that your Ichor Wellspring becomes a draw 2 for 2 mana, it's also regenerating your guy. So, and you don't have to do it immediately, so you can just keep swinging with your 4/1 every turn.
And the threat of that is looming there.
So it's like Ichor Wellspring's a 3-for-1 already, you know?
Okay. So, pick 7. Have we just not seen a lot of white cards here? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty clear to me. I think actually this was the pack where I realized, you know, there's no way, like the people to my right are fighting hard for white, but that actually kind of got me thinking that I would play white more because I didn't pass any white at all. So I thought that at least I'll get pack 2's worth.
Right, they're helping you work towards pack 2, right?
At least I'll get pack 2, you know, and at this point, I mean, I consider the Concussive Bolt in this, actually, because the white was cut so hard that I was thinking, maybe I'll go blue-red, because I like Concussive Bolt the best out of this pack. But I ended up going with the Rhino just to make sure that I had, you know, more creatures to actually win with. But in retrospect, I think I should have just took the Innocuous. It's just too easy to get expensive cards.
Right, and just have some guy that you can put out there early and then block, draw a card, whatever.
Exactly, you know, and having another guy to sacrifice.
All right, so your eyes popped out of your head at this pack. I mean, you were kind of, again, looking at the red card, or you were looking at the Fuel for the Cause, which is a card you ended up getting 2 of as they wheeled around the table. But
yeah, and I like Mirror Works sometimes too, depending on how my deck works out. It's a little slow, but it can draw a lot of cards in the long game. But I mean, Ichor Wellspring I pick over like almost everything. So I mean, that's one of the beauties of drafting the archetypes that I draft, is that a lot of the cards that you want first pick are cards that lap around the table, and a lot of the cards that are important role players for the deck, like the 2/2, the Ferrovore and the Oxida. The 2/1 that you can sacrifice artifacts.
Sure.
Those cards are
Oxida
really important.
Daredevil, right?
Exactly, the Daredevil. Those are really important to the deck, but you get those super late. And the fact that Ichor Wellspring, the most important card in the deck, has lapped in both of the table ones. I mean, that's why I was like, you know, really pumped for this. At first, Michael Jacob was the first person in our test group to realize how good Ichor Wellspring was. And he tried telling us for like several drafts. And then after he wins 3 drafts in a row, we're just like, and so yeah, Michael Jacob definitely is, you know, where I figured out how to play with Ichor Wellspring.
Right, and it seems like you've been passing the knowledge along also, because now when you sat down to register your deck, you were sitting across from Luis Scott Vargas.
Exactly, Luis Scott Vargas sits down, and Luis was one of the people that I have been going on and on and on, because I kind of, you know, I joked with him, let's see in 1 month, you know, we picked 3 of the best drafters in the world that weren't in the conversation, and we're going to ask them in 1 month how high of a pick is Ichor Wellspring, because they were saying it's like a 6th or 7th pick or whatever, and we set the line at 3.5, that they're going to answer that it's a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd pick, and then Luis is like, well, I guess it's okay, but then Luis sat down at the 2nd draft, shows me his Ichor Wellspring deck, and he's like,
I took 1/4.
Yeah, he's like, it's not going to take a month.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit now how the Scars of Mirrodin packs work out for you. What happens when you open up your first Scars of Mirrodin pack? What do you take, like an arrest, I think?
Yeah, so I had a chance. I don't even recall what the other options were, but I know that there was a Salad Artifact, and I was considering just sticking with, you know, not taking the arrest, just to keep my options open in case I wanted to switch. But removal is at such a premium that I just wanted to be sure that, you know, that I had, like, if I play blue-white, I really need to have as many removals as I can. So
now you were hoping that white would sort of flow freely in pack 2, and it really looked like it did.
Yes, it ended up paying off. You know, like I didn't really get a lot of white out of pack 3, but in pack 2 I got enough white to make it a solid.
Right.
You know,
a True Conviction came very late. Obviously, that was not a card anyone on this side of you was able to play. You had a choice of a Glinthawk and a Revoke Existence. I thought it was very interesting that you took the Glinthawk there.
Yeah, and I think that's a choice that a lot of people would do the opposite of.
I do too. Yeah.
Revoke Existence is a great removal spell in this format. It can get rid of half the creatures, just about 1/3 of the creatures. Plus, it also gets rid of equipment or problem Trigons or anything like that.
Right.
But I find that there's a lot of different ways to get rid of artifacts and enchantments. That's not as big a commodity or important commodity. Whereas recursing my Ichor Wellsprings, that's like
it all comes back to the Wellspring.
Yeah, I mean that's like you draft the deck for it, you know.
Sure. So the pack works out. You end up getting a Glimmerpoint Stag, which is really good with the Wellsprings also. And then finally you ended up getting a Venser, Shaper Savant.
Venser, absolutely.
Yeah, in pack 3, I think it was 2nd pick in pack 3. So the deck looks really solid. You're 2-0 with it very quickly.
Yeah.
You made short work of Ben Stark last round, and
it was a pretty bad matchup for him. Like having Indestructible and having card advantage against his 1-for-1 removal deck. So
yeah, it seemed pretty solid. You can actually put yourself in Patrick Chapin's seat and see how you would have drafted that. See if you would have taken those Wellsprings. See if you would have taken the Glinthawk or the Revoke Existence, and look at the Scars packs in detail. Go into the draft viewer. It should already be up on MagicTheGathering.com, and you can sit down and you can also see what, you know, a lot of the other, really, I mean, it was a stacked draft table with a lot of great drafters, how you would have handled it. Signing off for Patrick Chapin, this is Brian David Marshall from Magic Weekend Paris.
See ya.